Welcome to the Nerd Pow Wow. My name's Seraph, joined here with Darkwayne and Moribane. Welcome, guys. How's it going?
Going
Good,
good.
good.
How's it going?
I'm excited for today's podcast.
Yeah, we're going to talk some Castlevania. Guys, make sure you check us out on YouTube. We just got everything set up there. Every Friday, we're going to be releasing new videos, and find us on your favorite podcasting format. But yeah, I'm super excited for this episode, talking about Castlevania. Wayne, you did a little homework on this one. You watched through the season, and
I sure did.
how'd you find it?
Oh, I was very entertained. I watched all 4 seasons in about 4 days. So
Crazy.
I really jam-packed. So the good thing about it is, there were little slow parts every once in a while, but it created great dialogue, and then the battle scenes were just amazing.
Yeah.
And you picked up little Easter eggs from the games over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. There were so many spots in the original season that, especially the first and second season of the show, that it's just so many things littered there for fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I would give the series like a solid like 9.5 out of 10 if you're a Castlevania fan. For anybody else, I mean, it's still a solid 8. It's a really good story. It's got a great plot line.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, sympathy for the devil is what I gained from watching that, because out of all of the characters, the one I consistently felt the worst for was Dracula.
Yeah, like the first season was only 4 episodes, but it kind of gave you a taste of what was to come. And then it was just action-packed. For a cartoon, it was gory.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the sex scenes, they're very livid. I was very impressed with the drawing, the writing, everything with it.
Yeah, send the kids to bed, because it's definitely not a family film. But yeah, the way they handled Trevor and his story was awesome. I think the way they described everything, and especially, man, the ending of season 4. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody for the ending, but man, that final battle was phenomenal.
Brybane, if you had any interactions with Castlevania throughout the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, PlayStation.
I mean, obviously, I've dabbled into games. Wasn't one that I was like huge into the lore of, so I actually look forward to watching the shows. But it's been a busy couple of weeks, so I was really bad at homework this week.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah, we Castlevania, it kicks off the original Belmont is Leon Belmont. He's the original Belmont. It's his game was in PlayStation 2. The continuity of Castlevania is a little all over the place.
Because I thought Simon was the first one from like the Super NES or from the NES.
Yeah. So so Simon is actually way in the future. Oh,
wow. Okay.
In the timeline of things, Trevor Belmont is 1476 AD, and Simon doesn't come around until like 200 years later in 1691.
Wow. Okay.
But basically, so they jump around with continuity. I mean, for the longest time, it's just action adventure game for a console, and all of the lore is just in the little manuals, right? So,
right.
One thing they did to kind of honor that is the character Sypha that you meet in the anime. In the video game in Castlevania 3, you can unlock Sypha as a playable character by defeating the Cyclops that turns her to stone, basically. And they do a 1-for-1 in the anime for that, and they did great. They even played around with the idea. In the instruction manual, Sypha is referenced as a man.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And even when you pick the character up, like, you don't think it's a female character. Like, you don't think anything of it. But they do kind of the Metroid thing where at the end of the game, they, take the hood off and it's a woman, so, kind of cool. Castlevania has always done pretty good with having female characters, portrayed as protagonists well, in the series. So for Castlevania, the original Netflix series that follows Trevor Belmont and Sypha, um, that series it really focuses it really focuses in on both of those characters as protagonists, which is awesome. And then of course you have the addition of Alucard, which Alucard's pretty badass.
Yeah, Alucard's pretty badass. He kept referencing when he was alone. Oh, I'm turning into Belmont. So
Yeah, oh, it's hilarious because I mean at that point in time, Alucard's he's like 20 years old himself. Like he's still pretty young in the events of that series. So it's interesting to watch him because you will see him again, Wayne.
what?
You will see him
So-
again.
So this they never, or at least I don't believe they explain how he got into the tomb, the coffin, to be found at a later point. Do you know that story?
Yeah. So the speakers are Sypha's clan that she is a part of, her people. They had this story of a sleeping warrior, right, who's been sleeping for
Right.
hundreds of years, so on and so forth. But the way the speaker's story and lore, all their stuff is told, it's through spoken word. It's not written in books anywhere. And so spoken word goes. Things change and details change. So Alucard, the story was he was supposed to be some character, a hidden warrior that was going to be a savior for the Wallachia people, that had been sleeping there for hundreds of years. Well, he was only down there for like a year until, until he was woken up. He's like, how long was I sleeping? Oh, it's just been about a year, it's kind of funny. They do the vampire eternal slumber type thing, but it's like, oh yeah, you've just been down here for a year. They in the video game, the way you unlock Alucard is you go through like a mechanical trap level kind of thing, and then you have to fight Alucard to unlock him as a character, which they portrayed so well in the anime. Like when they go into the catacombs, they see all of these machinations that are way too advanced for this time period, right? And so everybody, the Belmont, of course, Trevor's like, this is the work of Dracula, right? Like, this might be Dracula that we're going to wake up. And so they go in there, they're like, okay, it's a vampire in a coffin, super strong. Maybe this isn't the savior that we thought it was. The fight
Actually, it was.
turns out, yeah,
Yeah.
needed all three of them to win the battle.
Because he's
No,
a Helsing, right? Isn't Alucard a Helsing?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So Helsing is it's a completely different series, but the protagonist in Helsing is Alucard.
Okay, yeah, because I've seen that. I didn't know because obviously Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards, and I don't know if they ever really addressed that or if it was just like something they did for, if there was a reason or if it was like a name he chose. I don't know how he came about that name or that convention.
Yeah, so I don't know the actual reason why they why Alucard goes as Alucard, but the way the character was designed is, hey, it's Dracula spelled backwards, so we'll do that. His full name is Adrian Tempesh, because Tempesh is Dracula's last name. But in Helsing, the thing you're talking about, that Alucard is actually Dracula.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Helsing's pretty sweet though. Which they do for this anime. They take inspiration from Helsing. They also take inspiration from Vampire Hunter D and some of those series if you've watched those.
Vampire Hunter D that's one of my favorite. I love Vampire Hunter D. That was kind of my introduction to anime a million years ago.
Oh, really? So
I love Vampire Hunter D.
Without getting into spoilers too much about the second season, right? Nocturne. The main villain is going to look super familiar to you
Oh yeah.
If you watched Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, the Elizabeth Bathory or Urzabet Baltry is a like 1-for-1 of the boss as far as like design goes. It's actually pretty
No
cool.
kidding.
It's a nice little kind of nod to
Huh.
that. But
I love it
um
because Vamp God, I love Vampire D. That was fantastic.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, and so yeah, Dracula or Alucard, he's just one of these characters who you know, his big thing is he has the sword, right? That's his weapon of choice, right? Uh they combined two items in the games and they actually made it way more badass than the character was before. Before the Alucard sword, he had to wield it. It was a sword that he would hold, swing at people, you know. He did have a teleportation special attack, which they show very well in the anime, where he teleports and swings. Um, but the sword did not animate or move itself. But there was an item called the Sword Familiar in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which it was a sword that flew around and like slashed people and stuff, right?
I
So
remember that. Yeah.
they combined the Alucard shield or the Alucard sword along with the shield or the sword familiar. They combined those two aspects and they made, you know, that's how his sword works in the anime, and it plays really well. It makes for really cool fight scenes too.
Cool.
So the item he finds, it's a four-bladed knife. And halati, is that how you say it?
Halati.
Is that in the video game?
You know, I'd have to double check on that. I'm not entirely sure. You said the four-bladed knife.
Remember, in the underground, and he's like, "Why is this down here? There's only one of these." And when he hold it, there's four blades, and that was something he could spin around.
Oh. Yeah, so that's a play on the boomerang from the Castlevania games.
Okay,
Where it's a four-bladed knife that he throws and it returns to him, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a pretty sweet weapon.
Yeah.
I mean,
you play any of the
Yeah,
Castlevania games, that's your go-to weapon. It's so good.
yeah, definitely. Because you know, for me personally, it's been many years since I've played any of the Castlevania games, and actually talking about doing this podcast on Castlevania, watching the series, like I want to hook up this Nintendo right now and play.
Yeah, there you go. You
I
got
mean-
your Nintendo out and everything.
Yeah, sure do. I'm ready to go. I want to play.
Nice. Yeah, so yeah, the original series was awesome. They do have a what was the sorcerer guy's name in the first season?
Well, are you talking about Saint Germain?
Yeah, Saint Germain, that guy.
Okay.
You know, they
That
played
poor
this.
guy. Oh, all he wanted is his wife back.
I feel bad for him, but also
Yeah.
they gave him so much showtime. Like they gave him a lot of time in the games. He was not nearly as impactful.
Oh no.
No, like I don't know. That's one of the weaker parts I found of the series. But that village where you find out that the priest is like killing those kids or whatever, like
Salah.
oh yeah, oh man, that one gave me goosebumps. I was like,
Oh, no,
oh
I'm sorry.
no.
The judge.
Yeah,
Judge was the one killing the kids. Salah was in the prairie or priori. Is that how you say it?
Mm,
Basically, where the monster was.
yeah. No, that whole arc was really sweet.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
they did a nice job.
The way they played that was very well done. But yeah, as far as animes go, I definitely put that one high up on the list of ones I recommend to watch. With Nocturne coming out, there are a couple notes I have for that. One of the referenced characters is Elizabeth Bathory, which is a 16th century Hungarian noblewoman who is a serial killer who owned land in the Kingdom of Hungary, basically.
Yeah, I actually know a little bit of her real life lore.
Oh yeah. So
yeah, she's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so you know Dracula, he's built off of you know, Vlad the Impaler, right? That's his kind of his background, right? Well, that's where they get this this character's kind of inspiration from for the second season. They have a cool plan for that. I can't wait for you guys to check into that season. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing they do really cool in Nocturne is the one character, they link her as the succubus from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. They give like those kind of powers to her, and it just feels really strong and really like really cool. Yeah. But yeah,
Well,
so
one of the I was just gonna throw something in about
yeah.
Bathory. That one of the biggest things about her that was like really horrible is she would bathe. She'd fill bathtubs full of virgin blood and bathe in them as kind of trying to keep young and everything else. So she really works well in a vampiric
Yeah.
environment. So because she was really that was where her big thing was, is bathing in virgin blood to maintain her youth.
We all need a hobby.
It works really well.
Right?
Yeah, it's quite the hobby. Yeah, she was pretty psychotic, but I just think that's going to work really well in the storyline. I'm kind of excited to see that.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, did that work? Did she keep young, bathing in virgin blood?
I don't think so.
Some say she's still in a bathtub, swimming around in her pool of virgin blood.
Blowing bubbles.
Oh. The mental image.
Boop, 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 boop.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so they swap things around a little bit with these anime series and like move things kind of where they didn't really belong in the games. So Elizabeth Bathory, she's the antagonist in the in a future game that takes place in 1917, where the Belmont clans gives the vampire hunter whip to John Morris, the Morris family in Ohio, or in the United States, down in Texas. And there's a Castlevania based in Texas where you have the two characters, like one's very much like a Belmont, and one's very much like Alucard. I don't know why they did that with John Morris and Eric Lacard, but there was a Bloodline series, but they took the antagonist from that series and moved it over to Nocturne, which in hindsight was actually a pretty good idea. It's a little bit stronger of a plot than what the original game had. In the original game, Richter Belmont is trying to save his girlfriend from a priest who had abducted her to be the wife of Dracula. This isn't a spoiler for the anime because this doesn't happen in the anime, right? But so that's kind of the introduction of those characters. I think that
who's Maria supposed to be?
Maria is the it's almost like a stepsister kind of.
Okay.
Richter was raised by a different, not his mom, because his mom died when he was young.
Right.
And so he was raised with Maria, and Maria's mother, Lisa, raised them. I think.
Did they do any flashbacks to visit that?
Yeah, they do a little bit, and they'll show you a little bit more about their relationship and how that works. Maria is young in the anime, which in Rondo of Blood, when Richter's first introduced, which happens 1792 is when Rondo of Blood takes place, and then 1797 is when Symphony of the Night takes place. The first game being Richter is the protagonist, the second game being Alucard, but Maria's in both of those games, right? Maria gets a lot more stronger in Symphony of the Night. Her ability is basically she summons creatures from other worlds to fight for her. So she's basically a Pokemon trainer.
Yeah. So Castlevania started with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Did it progress to Super Nintendo?
Yeah. So we did get a Super Nintendo Castlevania. That's Super Castlevania 4, which Does
it mean there were 3 with Nintendo?
Yep. There is Castlevania, the original Castlevania, which was the events took place in 1691, which follows Simon Belmont. Then you have Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, which follows Christopher Belmont, which is just the generation before, at 1591 AD. And then Castlevania 3 takes place even further back in time. So the games like chronologically go backwards.
Okay.
Because I believe Castlevania is one of the only properties that appears on every Nintendo.
I believe that
too. I believe that there's even the handhelds.
Yeah. The handheld games are awesome.
Did they make one for the Switch?
Yeah, there's been two for the Switch. They had they're collections though. They're like the anniversary type thing. You know what I mean? So they're not really new material, but they're Castlevania games made for the.
Yeah, you can play Castlevania on any Nintendo system. That's for sure.
That's pretty cool.
That said, though, we had 4 Netflix seasons. Okay. We had 2 seasons of Nocturne, right? We had 6 seasons of Castlevania, right?
Correct.
In the past 12 years, you know how many Castlevania games they've released? 0 actual new Castlevania games have been made in that amount of time. It's all been DLC or remasters or collaborations with other games. So like they did the DBD collaboration, right?
Yes.
They did a Vampire Survivors collaboration, which was amazing. But yeah, they even did a Super Smash Brothers collab. But yeah, I'm looking forward to my next Castlevania game coming out.
So I wonder if they'll do one. I mean, with the updated graphics, I think it would look really good. But I don't know. I mean, Switch 2's coming out this year. So fingers crossed, maybe they do come out with one.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So then another question for you is, Sypha's child she has with Trevor.
Yeah.
Does that character ever make it to a video game?
Negative. That character never makes it to a video game, but Trevor doesn't have any magical abilities, right?
Right.
He's just whip. He's a barbarian, kind of like just beats the hell out of people, hits them with whips, right? After Sypha joins the bloodline, and the Belmonts from that point forward have the ability to use magic.
Okay.
Because the speaker's bloodline has been added to the bloodline, the Belmont bloodline. So that's always like a cool little thing that ever since then, there's magical potential in the Belmonts. Which with Just Belmont, or Juiced Belmont that comes up, after Castlevania 2, he's one of the Game Boy Advanced, Belmonts. He's got a really cool like friendship story where it's one of those like story plot lines where like we overcome the evil because we're friends, but one's kind of like a shitty friend for a while there. But just his special thing is he enchants the Morningstar Whip with different elements, and so when he attacks, he can upgrade his whip with different elemental attacks.
Nice.
And then Juiced goes right to Richter Belmont. It's like 40 years later where we see Richter from Juiced. So technically, Juiced Belmont could still be alive.
Well,
during the time of Richter Belmont.
You were talking about them not having a release for a while. They did release that one on Apple, that Apple gameplay one. Oh, I don't know if it's like Grimoire of Souls or something like that.
Okay, I'll have to I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I was curious because it wasn't a Nintendo property, because I know it was something exclusive for Apple. If they kept with if it's the same like canon, or if it's something different.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would be interested to know. I wonder who the character is that leads it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have some of my gamer buddies are also Castlevania fans, and I remember them talking about it, and I just looked it up, and it came out I don't know the date here yet. Oh, it looks like the characters are Alucard, Simon, Charlotte, Shanoa, and Maria.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
And when you say Apple, like what do you play it on? Mobile?
No, it's Apple. It's called Apple Arcade. It's like a streaming arcade game service that Apple offers.
Oh, okay.
I'm not an Apple guy, so I've never
Yeah.
messed with it.
Neither am I.
I'm an Android guy. So
Android all the way.
There's a reason
So-
it passed me for sure.
yeah, and then there's a character in it called Genya Uricado. I don't
Genya
know what that
Uricado.
is, but it's like referred to as a persona of Alucard.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
So it's
Interesting.
but I don't know anything more about the game. I'm just kind of glancing over a little bit.
Yeah.
So that might be something that might be enjoyable, but I don't know how you play it without an Apple device, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
I'll have to
Right.
look into that. Worst case
Yeah.
scenario, I'll have to hijack an old iPhone or something.
right.
Oh my
Do it on
god.
an iPad. Give yourself some real estate.
There we go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
make it look good, right?
But yeah, this that Castlevania game looks like it was made by Konami still,
Nice.
and it looks like it's a left to right game too, like the old one.
I wonder if it is a mobile
iPhone.
game then.
It's available on the iPhone, iPad, iPad Touch, Mac, Apple TV. Oh,
Okay.
you can get it through the TV too, the Apple TV, which I have.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Give it a try.
There's a show on Apple TV called Silo. It's one of the better science fictions that has been out in a minute. So,
Once I get Apple TV, I've already been recommended that one, and I've heard it's really good.
it really is. I'm the only one that watches the Apple TV. When we're done here today, I can share my Apple login with. Well, no, because Apple has all that dual factor authentication.
Oh,
crap.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
It's gonna
worries,
be a
no
pain.
worries.
It has to. Yeah, otherwise I would just share it with you. If I forgot they got it, it sends me login okays on other devices. It has to come through my device and everything else.
Pain
So
in the
that's gonna be a
neck.
pain in the butt.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
how they do
Why are you
that
logging in 400 miles away?
stuff. Oh my god.
How did you do that?
How'd you do that? My gosh. But yeah, so man, the fight with death never looks so good.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I got
I want
one of these.
to go and play it now.
Yeah, those games are brutal though. They're so hard.
They were. That was
But
an
you got-
era. That
you
was
got
an
the
era
whip.
of that type of game. Yeah, but I mean that era of games was
Oh yeah.
the difficulty level was through the roof. I mean, I can make every gamer cringe by talking about ghosts and goblins.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just that era of games. Ooh.
my crowning
Yeah.
gaming
Pain.
achievement is beating Super Ghouls and Ghosts. That's like the one thing I'm like, you know what? I did this. This is something that not many people have accomplished. It's one of my crowning achievements.
Yep.
You didn't do that
I
till
beat
like
the original one.
you didn't do
original
that till
Ghosts
like
and
a couple
Goblins.
years ago, right?
Well, at this point, it's been like maybe like 5 or 6 years, I think.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, like, and it's been a game that I've like casually played like throughout the years. It's just, man, I'll tell you what, that game, once you start getting to a certain point, it's almost impossible. You know, and that's the thing, those old games, they did make them a lot more difficult. Castlevania always seemed pretty fair because you could always see the obstacles, right? You always knew what was going on. Like you knew that this head was going to knock you off a cliff, right? Like, so the thing with the Castlevania games, it reminds me of the Souls games a lot, like Dark Souls and all that, is how perfect you have to be with your inputs. Because when you hit that whip button, the whip doesn't go off right away. You have to time it because you know that whip's got a delay on it. And that's one of the things, you know, you'd think you'd get really frustrated with, but it almost feels like a skill thing where you're like, okay, well, I have to do this perfect input, and that's how we get hits off, you know, and it feels like you've actually earned a skill once you get good with it.
You did. That era of games had all Castlevania, all the games of that time. There was almost like a pattern to every fight had a certain rhythm to it, and once you got that rhythm, you were able to, you know, have that. You were just getting into it. It's like it was like just a cadence to it that was really good, and I enjoyed that. But it was, I guess it, you know, once you get that mastered, then it's like, well, now I know what to do every time. So
yeah, well, yes, but you know, even in like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, they still have random enemies sometimes too. Castlevania not so much, but still there's like RNG enemies that just spawn at random spots on the screen. You do have a little bit with the zombies in Castlevania in the earlier maps usually, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Some of those early games were surprising with that they were able to, because I played the original Ghosts and Goblins, the predecessor to Super Ghosts and Ghouls, and there was an entire hidden boss. You had to do every single thing in the game, but otherwise you just didn't even know it was there, because there was an ending, but it wasn't the actual ending. And and in that era, you weren't like popping up your phone and looking up what to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or I mean, maybe you were going to the store and getting what do you call
the Game
it?
Genie?
The game? No, not the Game Genie. What were the books? What were the books called?
Nintendo Power.
Oh,
the Nintendo Powers and stuff. And maybe you were doing that, but other than that, you were just like in my life. Like when I beat that game, literally the way I beat it was you couldn't save. There's no saves.
Yeah.
So I just left that Nintendo on for like a month. it was just sitting there. I know that little transformer on the wall. That thing. I'm surprised it didn't burn my mom's house down at some point in time. That thing was so hot.
It was so hot.
It was so hot.
It's doing so much work.
I was like,
but you couldn't turn it off.
No,
you could lose your game.
Yep, I remember we were actually playing Super Ghosts and Ghouls one time, and we'd left it on. We'd been playing. Me and my buddy Danny were playing it, and his dog ran through the living room. We pulled the game out into the thing to sit on the floor. Ran through the living room, ran across the power cords. I thought for sure I was going to have to save that poor dog's life because he was so livid. I'm like, no, it's not his fault. But it was. We just sat there with that look on our face of pure disbelief of what had happened.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Oh, good stuff.
Oh, the pain of old video games. It was.
Yeah, I remember when we got our PlayStation. I got the game Cool Borders 2 as like one of my first games for that. I didn't have a memory card. So all I played was Cool Borders 2 for like a month until we got a memory card. I was like, I really need to get a memory card. I was so scared for mom and dad to see the electric bill because I just had that PlayStation pumping all the time. Oh my gosh.
It's amazing the thing that we used to go through with video games and what we would
had to endure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you have a lot of these minis and retro stuff where you actually rewind. So if you die off a cliff, you just hit the rewind button before you die off that cliff. You don't die off that cliff.
Like playing Prince of Persia, you just get to reset time a little bit.
Yeah.
You're all set.
I think, the Darkwing Duck for the NES, I played that on the PlayStation 4. And yeah, you can rewind time. So if you die, no, I don't die.
I didn't die. That's
all. Cool. That is safe spamming in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Got to make a decision. Save. Got to roll some dice. Save.
Yep. I'm sure
we didn't have that. We didn't have that.
Retros for the Castlevania games.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Just.
Yep. You can use save states and all that. And honestly, like at this stage in my life, I don't have the time to perfect and learn a game from start to finish. I want to experience the storyline in the game a little bit. So maybe I'll do a little bit of, cheaty, scummy things to get through the game. But,
That's okay.
I also have a job, so,
Yeah, I mean, going through games in their raw form and learning everything the hard way is definitely a free time thing.
Yeah.
And, in your adult life, you just don't have the free time you did before. So you have to, you want to, I play games all the time, but sometimes I just can't do that time sink game anymore.
Yeah.
It's, it's too consuming, the huge time sink. That's why I don't do like MMOs anymore. I really enjoyed them, but trying to get to people together and then, I'm going out and gathering 10 leaves and 25 or whatever, and I just can't do that anymore. I'm like, I need to get to the juice, man. Get to the juice.
You need to kill 400 firefoxes for some reason in some map. It's like, oh, okay, all right. Great, I'll collect 400 foxtails. That sounds great. What a cool game.
Right.
No, I totally get that.
I can't do it anymore.
Yep.
Can't do it.
Not anymore. But Yeah, with Castlevania Nocturne, we are looking at Richter Belmont, which is he's labeled as the strongest Belmont, but he's also, because of the events in the games, he is the Belmont that gives the vampire killer whip, or the Morningstar whip, to the Morris clan. He decides that the Belmonts are no longer worthy of wielding that weapon because of their hubris.
Okay.
And so that's his little bit of a depresso episode there has him give the whip over to the Morris family and their bloodline.
Now, does the video game show his mother passing away? Like, series.
So that would be Rondo of Blood, and I don't believe they show that in Rondo of Blood. I think that's something that lives in an instruction manual somewhere, because that's 90% of Castlevania lore is in an instruction manual or a Nintendo Power somewhere. Just because back in those days it was just side-scrolling games. Let's throw a loose plot together and go from there.
It worked.
Yeah. Hey, they did good. There was an event where they kind of consolidated and kind of nailed down the timeline for all the Castlevanias and decided when they existed. So there's a legitimate canon for that, which was nice. But yeah. As far as Castlevanias go, I have to say the one for the Super Nintendo is probably the second best. And the best Castlevania is Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation.
Which is the worst.
Which is the worst. The Castlevania Adventure starring Christopher Belmont.
Christopher Belmont.
It's for the Game Boy Color. It's hardly... yeah. It's a game. It's a game. Yeah. It's a game. It takes everything that you could love about the first Castlevania game, and just downscales it, turns it ugly gray, and that's it. It's so bad. But I would say that that's probably not the best. There are some Castlevanias that don't follow the Belmonts that don't feel as much like a Castlevania game, like Bloodlines, which follows John Morris, doesn't really feel as much like a Castlevania game, but it's still pretty good. The second place for the worst Castlevania has to be the N64 Castlevania. That was when they were first experimenting with the 3D polygons and all that stuff.
Okay.
PlayStation got Symphony of the Night, which, despite advice to the contrary, they kept as a side scroller, and they just used parallax for the background so that you'd have a bunch of movement in the background. So it looked really good, and that's what they used the power from the PlayStation to do, is to have all these different layers basically in the background. But they didn't have that 3D effect. Whereas Castlevania 64, they did experimentation with Reinhardt Belmont, and it was just awkward. The aiming was poor. They didn't really know what they were doing with 3D movement too well in the N64 days. So it's definitely the most frustrating Castlevania to play, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, N64 in general had a lot of that. It had some amazing games.
Yeah.
But to this day, Mario Kart 64 might be my favorite. Mario Kart's fantastic. Mario Kart. I loved Conker's Bad Fur Day. What a fantastic game that was. But other games, it was really hard to track. Obviously the Castlevania one, but Turok. I don't know if you guys ever played Turok. Same thing. It was a good game, but the tracking and the fight and the weapons in the game were just a pain in the butt, and yet they turned around and did it good in things like GoldenEye. So
even GoldenEye, I never remember aiming up or down in GoldenEye. I always remember just a straight
left
angle.
And right.
Yeah, left, right, around. So even then, it was still a playable game unless somebody was playing Odd Job. Fucking people playing Odd Job and GoldenEye.
I loved GoldenEye.
Such a good game.
I wasn't very good at GoldenEye, but I still liked it.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah, there's
four-player GoldenEye with everybody running around in their little corner of the television that was hours of fun, man. That was hours. Of fun.
Hey, stop looking at my screen. No, you're looking at my screen.
Look at your own screen.
He's got the golden gun. You couldn't know that if
you're up there. I'm down here.
No, Mario Party was an awesome game too for the Nintendo 64. So awesome. We had a party at my one friend's house. It was a 48-hour party. Okay.
Holy shit. I can smell that party.
Yeah. We played Mario Party for 48 hours. When we were done playing, this guy Vince that I kind of knew but didn't know too well, he went home and attempted to kill his own mother. He was in prison for 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
That kind of an attempt. So all I'm saying is Mario Party is a great game. Just don't play it for 48 hours because your bones will start itching and you'll try and kill your mom.
Holy
Are the rights to that movie sold yet? I need to know.
Right?
Because that's going to make a great Netflix special.
Netflix special. How the Mario Party turned into the Mario Murder.
Oh my goodness. How long ago was that?
Week, 2 weeks?
Say at least 20 years ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't think I can beat that story with anything I've ever done with.
Nope. The only thing that's ever been murdered from my gaming years is an uncountable amount of controllers. That's the only thing that's ever been killed.
Oh,
have you ever thrown a controller at your TV and broken your TV?
I have never broken a TV. Luckily, every one of those was back when we had CRTs, so they had 17 inches of glass in the front. It was funny because
your controller shatters.
When I went off to college, we're a bunch of college guys living together. Controllers were expensive, and you can't afford to replace your controller every time you were raging through a game. So we actually hung a controller. The gaming system in the dorms were under a loft. So there was a bed up here, and then the game system was below it. There was no lower bed. So we hung a controller we had destroyed by its string there. So every time we wanted to rage, we just carefully set down the controller and grab the already broken one, slam it all over hell.
That's right.
And then hold on. We go back to the other one. Yeah.
All right, hold on. I need a moment.
Allow me to grab my composure.
Ridiculous. Yeah, right. Like planned rage. If you're raging out, but you're able to be like, okay, one second, let me set this down.
This isn't worth $50 of rage. This is only worth dinging up the countertop, the coffee table.
And I do know Sega Genesis controllers do not hold up well.
No.
I broke a few Sega Genesis controllers in my life.
Wayne, I can't imagine.
In the 64 controllers, if you did anything funny at all, it didn't track. The joystick no longer tracked.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
the Sega Genesis controllers, they didn't have a joystick, but they'd have that rattle all the time.
Yep.
Something was always broken inside.
There's always something floating around in there.
Sega unsung controller though was for the Dreamcast. Sega redeemed themselves with the controller for the Dreamcast. Dreamcast was a fantastic system. Yeah, I did too. It's a great system. It didn't get near enough play, but the controller on that, in the fact that it had the mini screen that you plugged in the memory card like device into the controller and had that secondary screen you could track ammos and things like that on.
They were like that big.
Really done. Yeah, but it was cool, man. It was like
I thought it was so fucking futuristic.
Yeah, me too. I was like,
cool. Put it. I'm playing a lot of Marvel versus Capcom on that system.
Oh yeah, yep.
The button mashing.
Yep. The controllers held up well too.
Yeah, they really did.
They were solid.
I mean, they were solid. They were big old blocks too of a controller, but they didn't feel bad. They were just big.
Yeah,
they had a pretty ergonomic feel to them, even though they were blocky. But
Yeah.
Yeah, to look at him sitting on the counter, you wouldn't have thought until you picked him up. It was.
Oh.
But yeah, I love the Dreamcast. Jet Grind Radio
Jet
was a
Grind Radio.
fantastic game on that system. But
So who is your favorite Castlevania character to play as?
Ooh, I think probably it's going to be Alucard, I'd say.
Okay.
Alucard is awesome. In Symphony of the Night, it introduces a leveling system, kind of. Well, I mean, it has a leveling system. It feels a little bit more like a role playing game in that aspect. You have a bunch of different equipable items. He has really good movement. If I had to pick another one, I would probably say probably Castlevania 4. Playing as Simon. Wait, 4 was Castlevania 4 was.
Yeah.
Blanking on which
it was Simon. You're correct. You go with your gut. It was Simon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was always fun. You know, a lot of the Belmonts are all the same kind of, and just the way they play. But Richter's also really cool to play. He's fun in that he you have like keyboard, you have inputs like fighting games that you can use to do his magic attacks. He's a very like melee based combatant, so I like that in his magic user. He's a melee magic user, which makes him a really cool makes for really cool scenes in the anime as well.
How is Sypha's character to play?
Melee.
It was melee. I would think she'd be a magician.
Oh, so yeah, Sypha, she does have a. I was correcting myself.
No, I'm glad.
Gotcha.
I chuckled at Melee a little bit, so I'm glad you corrected yourself. I know I cringed a little bit.
Yeah, no, Sypha does have magic abilities. I believe what her thing was she could freeze the enemies. She also had a thunder thing and a fire as well.
So she's like
which game is she in?
She's in Castlevania 3.
Okay.
Yep, the original season is all based on Castlevania 3 in that timeline, because you're following Trevor, that's all Trevor there. And then the one character they didn't include from the video games is Grant Dynasty, which he is a pirate that joins along your little ragtag group in the third Castlevania, but in the anime they don't give him any play. It's unfortunate. I think they named a city Dynasty, which is like a port city, to kind of honor him a little bit, but I still don't know why they didn't throw him in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now is Saint Germain a gameplay at all?
In a while.
So Saint Germain is from the same video game that Hector and Isaac are from. Okay, so that was the Castlevania for the PlayStation 2. I think it was Curse of Darkness was the PlayStation 2 with Hector and Isaac. Hector, they did him very well as far as what he was like in the games. You summon little demons to fight for you. It's a little bit like Castlevania Pokemon in that aspect.
Yeah.
Isaac, they changed that character so much for the better. In the games, he was in the show, he was kind of like a pain-seeking, kind of like a little bit masochistic type of guy, right? Like, and he's kind of atoning, and that type of thing, kind of like a monkish vibe type guy.
Whipping himself on the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. In the video game, he was a white guy with way too many tattoos, and like just the most edgy edgelord early 2000s outfit you can imagine was the bad guy. There was no nuance to the character. He was just into sick shit. That was his whole thing.
Now was Carmilla a bad guy you could fight?
Yes, Carmilla, I think she was in one of the games. I think it was actually Bloodlines she was in.
Okay. And then at one part during the series, when Isaac comes to towards the vampires, the lady vampires, I thought we were going to get a moment of either your team Hector or team Isaac. And then, well, it wasn't like that, but that was what I'm gearing up for. I'm like,
yeah,
I got to pick one or the other.
Well, whose team are you on?
Oh, Hector. Hector really, he set them up big time.
Yeah. Oh.
I was impressed with Hector's character.
Hector is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the adaptation they did for that in the anime, and those events were all kind of close together in the official timeline. So it was nice that they kind of joined that in with the main canon there in the anime. So that was very cool. Yeah, Saint Germain was from that as well. He would show up to Hector every once in a while. Still kind of like the same idea. He had weird kind of magic-y stuff, trying to get his wife back and whatnot. So
he was never a playable character. He just kind of showed up.
Yeah, he kind of showed up. He was just kind of an NPC that showed up periodically in the main series in Curse of Darkness.
Yeah, so I figured he was in the video game as much as he was in the series. I mean, because he was in two different seasons. Yeah, no, he was not very. He was in there, but he isn't a huge character in the thing. No. They really overplayed him a lot, which I mean, I guess was fine. It felt that arc was maybe one of the weird arcs. The other thing was weird was Alucard and the two hunters that came to the castle after Sypha and Trevor left. I don't remember that from any of the games. I don't know what that was referencing. It was a cool look to see like Alucard trying to reach out for some connectivity and then showing humans kind of betray him. That was an okay aspect. The sex scene was a little cringy, but not too bad. But let's see. I like the scene where Alucard's in the castle after both Sypha and Trevor left to go fight vampires on their own and do their own thing. Alucard's guarding the hold there, and he has little puppets of Sypha and Trevor. Oh, yeah. So that's something I noticed is the series kind of depicted. I always anticipated the castles were right on top of the hold, but then there was other scenes where you had to walk a little bit of a distance to get to the castle. And so it kind of changed throughout the series of how far away the castle was from the hold.
Yeah. Well, I think so. What they did at the end of season 2 is when Sypha was messing with how the castle teleported.
Yeah.
Which awesome way to adapt that. So for the longest time, it was Dracula's castle appeared out of nowhere, and there was like no explanation. Dracula's resurrected. His castle showed up. Like whatever, right? And I think it's cool that they're like, okay, well, Dracula used magic and machines to teleport his castle from one region to the next. And so he just had this teleporting castle. But yeah, I remember him teleporting it on top of the Belmont Hold. And that's why they entrusted Alucard with it. But after that, I didn't notice. Did they have to travel to it at other points?
They did, especially when they brought in the two hunters.
Okay.
They showed a part where here was the hold, but then they took a left and they had to walk a distance to get to the castle.
Oh, okay. I think you noticed an inconsistency there, buddy.
Yeah. And it because I noticed, she put it right on the hold. I thought the entrance to the hold was like down there.
Maybe they found a way to move the castle a little bit because when they said that the castle teleported on top of the hold, they also referenced that like this place is put together with just like sticks and stone. Like
they're like, oh boy,
this is the most unsafe place we can be right now. So maybe Alucard and his time tending to the castle, he just kind of got a tow truck and moved it over a little bit.
Beep, beep, beep.
I didn't think about it until you talked about the teleporting castles, but have either of you guys played the game V Rising?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
That has it captures a little bit of the essence of the Castlevania type
Oh, absolutely.
vibe.
You know what?
I didn't really put that together until you guys were talking about it. It has that feel. So
Another vent here. They did a crossover with V Rising. But where's my?
really?
Yeah, where's my new Castlevania game? Well, other than an Apple game, okay.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
Apple.
And we got to see how good the Apple game is first.
That's true. That's true. Fair.
It could be a Game Boy Color game.
It's so in theme with that. I almost wonder if it was somebody wasn't trying to make themselves because now I think about it, I started like playing with some of the characters in my head and who they could be in the parallels from what you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
You could see some parallels of characters with the interesting, because I love that game. I just had a recent playthrough this year with a few people. So
yeah, with Castlevania, you have to keep in mind too that it's a Japanese telling of, you know, kind of like Romanian, like another region's kind of folklore, right? So there are going to be, they don't necessarily care as much about the folklore as they do like the generality of the character and making a good story. So there's a lot of anime references too, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I haven't watched. I watched a couple episodes, just wasn't for me. But there are tons of references in Castlevania to that anime series. Yeah.
I'm very familiar with with it. It's, again, that's not my style of anime type thing, but I'm very familiar with what it is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of references to JoJo. They do try and do a little bit of history and try and tie things like that in. You know, they have their own lore with different items. But yeah, I think the Netflix original Castlevania series really nailed it. And Wayne, I can't wait for you to watch Nocturne. First season is okay. The second season of Nocturne is phenomenal. It's really good.
I watched the first episode and it looks like something I could get hooked on.
Yeah, they did deviate a little bit from the original storyline. Ulrox, which is the snake vampire guy,
right?
He was only a boss in Symphony of the Night that you would run into. He had a transformation into like some lizard guy, and then you killed him, and that's it. Like there was no other lore to this guy. So they tied a whole lot to bring in Elizabeth and some of these other characters that you'll be introduced later to. But he's one of those characters you end up liking in the long run. I think you'll like him a little bit.
Okay,
a little bit.
He did allow Richter to live. He could have just killed Richter, and then there's no Nocturne.
Yeah. That's true. No, he said, "I'll kill you, Belmont, but not today," or something like that, right?
Yeah, right.
Yep. Such a cool line. But yeah. So for Ulrox, Zon McLaren was the voice actor for that character. He was in Hawkeye and Echo as William Lopez, the commander of the Tracksuit Mafia.
That's funny. I know what character that is.
Tracksuit Mafia.
They're like this campy Tracksuit Mafia guys in the. You'd have to see. I don't know if you guys have seen the show, but I know who those characters are. They're really kind of over the top, almost borderline caricatures of that type of criminal, but it's funny.
Yeah. It's
fun.
They have Edward Blumel as Richter. He's a traditional actor. He doesn't have. I didn't see any voice actor work, and a lot of these actors, they're traditional actors. Not a lot of them do voice work, which was interesting to me. He played in the actor who played as Richter, Edward Blumel. He played in a lot of like chick flick types movies and like more emotional roles, which I actually think played really well for Richter's character. Because Richter, while he's the strongest Belmont, he's also very volatile, very emotional, and whatnot. So I think it really played well for that. We also have James Callis, returning voice actor from the original Castlevania anime. He was in Star Trek Picard, and he played as Picard Maurice. the psychiatrist character in that.
Nice. I couldn't figure out where I knew that Edward Blumel from, but he was in A Discovery of Witches for a while.
Oh, really?
I recognize his name. Yeah, I recognize his name from something. I couldn't place him, but now I know who he is.
Nice.
So yeah.
And
he
then
does a lot of period piece type stuff.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
So
for sure. And the entire series, so since it took place in 1792 through 1797, we had the French Revolution going on at that point in time. So they decided to tie that history into the anime, which at first I was a little annoyed by it, but it played really well by the second season, I thought. So heads will roll.
Yeah, I mean, it's an effective mechanism for the vamps.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you guys have got me excited to watch them. I was
you'll really like it.
Crazy couple weeks here for me, so I'm excited to get caught up and
so you'll watch the series, and I'm ready to play some Nintendo.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, we also we want to go on to XCeptional.
Yeah, if we've got some time to talk about XCeptional.
I think we have time.
Right. Yeah. You know, the worst X-Men ever.
Worst
news ever.
X-Men ever. Oh my gosh.
Possibly the worst superpower. I mean, when it comes to bang for your buck, if you forgive the pun.
just reading about him, Bailey Hoskins. He finds out, he really is a mutant. So they go to Xavier's school. They find out he can explode one time.
One time.
So he gets very, very upset. He doesn't want to be a superhero anymore. He just wants to leave. So at first he does, but he does end up coming back.
Yeah. And Forge made him that suit that he proceeded to XCeptional track down a henchman successfully.
He sure did.
The henchman pissed himself and then sued the Xavier school. And you got to see She-Hulk representing him. That was a cool little panel. And it took it took Wolverine's beer money or whatever, so Wolverine had a grudge with XCeptional.
Yeah.
The two character Rags and Riches. I'm not sure if they were in any other Marvel series or anything.
No, I don't believe they were.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the kind of gothic girl Rags. I thought those characters were fun. Riches, kind of a dick, but is what it is.
Because at one point, I guess you would say Rags sit down when Bailey was at his worst. It ended up being Mystique. Mystique gave him a little kiss.
Yep.
She wanted him to kill Xavier. And I think he was pretty close to doing it, but did change his mind, didn't end up doing it.
Yep.
The something I would say that the whole story thing is it had like Shakespearean overtones. Like Shakespearean comedy with the way the characters interacted in the tragedy. It just had that. I mean, like you said, shit with like Mystique popping in and doing this, it's there's an Oedipus, there's all kinds of different kinds of like older tragedy to that story.
Yeah.
And I really liked the whole that whole overtone to it. It was just good.
I like some of the panels where he's talking about like the traumas that he's gone through, and then like another character will be like, "Oh yeah, and your dead parents," and he's like, "Oh yeah, them too."
They got stepped on by a sentinel. What a way to go! Squish.
The Batman like death of the parents for the origin story. Let's go.
Oh,
I love to see the fastball special with Colossus. That panel was sweet.
Yeah.
They did a fake out of him using his ability in one panel. I was like, oh shit, he already used it. I think Scott Summers has the best quotes from this. One was, I don't know how we even get away with calling this a school. It's more like Hogwarts for future dead people. And then
He must have been disgruntled.
Yeah, and then when it
Got
shows when it shows Scott Summers in the future, he's like sexiest man of the year before Logan Fever. Oh,
That's great.
Oh, yeah, poor Bailey. And then, yeah, he ended up. Riches just poked the bear too many times,
yep.
and it's like Bailey's like, well, I'm gonna show you, and well, he sure did.
Yep. And then Miranda, when she was first introduced, I was like, okay, she's going to be overpowered. She has the ability to remove things from existence. She has apparently the ability to create things into existence. And then
beyond the fourth wall.
Then, yeah, at the end, it's revealed she even can reach beyond the fourth wall. And it was a cool little twist ending they did there, where they're like, okay, well, the comic has been fulfilled, the story arc has been completed. Now it never happened.
And there was the one panel in the comic where Magneto's flying down, all of a sudden, no Magneto.
Oh yeah,
gone.
It's gone.
I love that scene where Magneto abducts Bailey. That scene was really those panels were cool. It's like you just see the metal warping around and you're like, oh no, I know what's gonna happen next. It just gets
good. And they did have, obviously it's a self-contained universe. I forget what number that one is, but it's not 616. But they did have a character called Explodey Boy, who they never even give him a name, like whatever. But they actually used Krakoa resurrection things to bring him back a couple times so that they could use his power again. How horrible is that? Like, go explode. We'll just resurrect you so you can explode again.
Reminds me of Heroes and the Peter Petrelli story. Save the cheerleader, save the world. But at the end, Peter Petrelli's supposed to explode over Manhattan or whatever and kill a bunch of people. And the whole story is he can explode once.
Once, yeah. Oh, that's even just thinking about Heroes makes me sad.
Yeah.
Such a great start and premise to just continue. Even that reboot or whatever they tried to do was just
wasn't good. They killed Heroes in the second season with the Writers Guild strike. They left so many loose ends. They just finished the season too quick, and they never caught their feet below them. But that was a really good series.
Because didn't they
end stuff?
Didn't they end it with her jumping off because she could heal herself, so she jumped off a huge, I believe, building or something really high, and she was going to announce herself to the world.
Yeah, I think it was like a water tower or something. And she just jumped off of, and my name's Claire Bennett, and I can regenerate or something like that.
Yeah, and then no more heroes.
Yep. Oh, I loved Sylar as a bad guy. He was in one of the Star Trek things, right?
Yeah, he was Spock.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Spock in the Kelvin verse.
Zach. I forget what his last name is. First name's Zach.
Is it?
I
don't remember.
Now you're doubting me. Now I'm doubting myself.
Yeah, hold on a second. I know the actor. I can't think. It is
Google.
What's like Winning or something like that? But
that's what messes me up.
Okay.
It's Zachary Quinto.
Okay,
that's it.
Yeah.
I
just the Zach threw me off because I've never heard him like just
it's
shortened
Zachary.
Zach.
Oh yeah, that's my pal Zach.
It just threw me off. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy that actor. He's been in some excellent things. I liked him. Obviously, Heroes. He was fantastic. He played villain in one of the American Horror Story seasons. I don't remember which season.
I don't remember which
but,
season he did. Yeah,
but I mean, he's done some really good things. He actually is in a new series. I tried to watch it, but it's not him. It's the series itself. He's in a series where he's a doctor right now called Brilliant Minds. I don't know. I can't get into it, but I was purposely watching it, going to see him because I liked his acting so much.
Yeah.
But
that was fun talking about Bailey Hoskins.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I like the
One might say it was exceptional.
Exceptional.
True. I like the panels where they try and figure out what team to put him in. So they're like, all right, what about X-Force? And like, you have Cable who's like, like get a chunk out of his thigh, and like they're just so vicious, and he's like, I don't belong here. But then like Bailey's also really wholesome when he's with X Factor, right? Because he's like next to Big Guy and like Multiple Man and whatnot, and he's like, hey, Big Guy, you know what? You're just a big, dumb, strong guy, but that's enough for you, and that's great, buddy. I thought that was, he's like, hey, you guys, you're pretty generic, but you know what? You guys are still pretty cool. You own it, guys. Then he gets the New Mutants he's with, and then Beta Flight.
Yeah, just pull him out with Beta Flight. Let's just send him to Canada.
Well, Alpha Flight's Canada, so yeah, we just we're the secondary, we're the Americans version. Oh my gosh! And then yeah, that was really cool. And then of course it went to the Mystique scene, which you always love to see Mystique show up.
Oh yeah,
you do. Yeah, Mystique, comic book Mystique is a phenomenal character. She's not terrible in the movies, but comic book Mystique is a phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
she's so multifaceted. There's so many different angles to her. I just always enjoyed Mystique.
Yeah.
She has it's just cool stuff. Although I will say one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in a comic came with Mystique. So you know who Destiny is? Destiny was like Mystique's close friend. She's a precognitive, a much older lady. She was always very close with Mystique. She passes in the comics once, and she wants her ashes put out to sea at a certain time in a certain moment. So Mystique gets there and is waiting for the time, and as soon as she does it, this wind comes and blows all of Destiny's ashes back into Mystique's face. And the joke is because she was a precog, she knew that this would happen. So it was like her final joke on her friend was to have her own ashes blow back into her face because she knew there would be a wind at that place at that moment.
That's freaking funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and just what a great kind of like. I like when people are able to put a friendship together where you can actually kind of feel the friendship, and they did a really good job. Like you understood the friendship between those two women so much better just from that one funny little afterlife prank. So
now, were they friends or were they lovers?
Friends.
They were friends.
Okay. There was an oddness to that, but Mystique was always portrayed as an elderly woman. Well, not always portrayed. There was times she came around, whatever. But it did almost have a feel like a partnership to them sometimes. But I think it was just that was writers' efforts just to show how close they were. I don't know that it was ever. I mean, I could be wrong about that too, but I don't think they were ever confirmed to be romantic interests.
Because I believe wasn't Mystique born in like the 30s?
Yeah, Mystique herself has been around for a long time.
Yeah, 1930s.
Yep, her ability to shapeshift, because she's in Wolverine's history too. So she is a kind of Mystique about her. Sorry.
Well, now we know officially how these characters got to maintain their ages. It was Miranda, right? She's responsible for all the retcons. We had Tony Stark has been in his 30s for about 60 years. There's that time that Nick Fury got a little bit of a stick in the mud, so they exchanged him with a total badass.
Yeah, that was actually when they created like the Ultimate Universe. They changed up a lot of characters, and they're actually bringing the Ultimates back, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know. It's you have some of that stuff you just have to suspend disbelief. I've said it before. It's because sometimes they're aging some of the people, and they're not aging the same. as others like Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, Kate Pryde. She's going by Kitty again, but like her, I mean, she was 14 when she joined the X-Men. She was like one of the youngest X-Men ever, and then it's like hard to keep her as like. So then she's a romantic interest to Colossus, and well, she can't really be 14 and doing that.
Yeah.
So and then she's there's just it just goes all over the place. So
That's something we talked about Jean Grey last week, and she ended up finding Xavier had a love interest in her when she first came to the X-Men, and she was just a teenager at that point.
Xavier was creepy in the first few issues of X-Men. I went back and read them again recently, and I enjoyed them, but I don't know. He was just deciding to change people's minds on shit. They don't really believe what I want them to believe. We'll just change it around a little bit, and
Charles,
just,
no
code, there's no prime directive anywhere in his mind.
No,
it's like, oh god, it was.
No,
kind
you're
of
gonna
painful.
think
And then he's all like, he's all like in love with this. I don't know. It's just this like whole like Lolita shit going on. Luckily, they got away from it pretty quick.
Thank God.
But yeah,
oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
I've always thought Xavier was terrible.
What did Hank's Beast said something like, "We've all done really bad things in our past, so I'm sure that was referenced in XCeptional. Like we've all done like I forget how he said it exactly, but it was like we've all committed atrocities in our past, but it's like, I heard Beast got pretty wild in the comic books too.
Yeah, Evil Beast came over from the Age of Apocalypse. That was a really nasty Beast time, and then Beast has always wanted to be cured.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was responsible for a lot of the stuff, depowering mutants and things like that. And he was, it was bad news back then for a while. So Beast has definitely gone off the rails a few times, which sucks because I really like Hank, but he's really made some poor choices at times too. So, but I mean, I get it when a lot of these mutants don't have physical manifestations of their powers, and he's a genius level intellect, and he wants to be taken serious, and here he is, this like bestial, almost ape-like,
big dumb blue guy looking.
Yeah, and even when he was original, I mean, he wasn't even blue originally. He was just like just kind of like almost like an ape. He didn't get blue until his mutations changed later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just but he's also been, he's one of the ones that's been a part of the Avengers, and he's also been part of the Defenders, the Champions. So Beast has been around the whole gamut for a long time, unlike a lot of the X-Men. So
yeah,
I appreciate that about him, but I wish he hadn't made some of the faux pas that he did. So, but one thing about Mystique that people don't realize, the Mystique is Nightcrawler's mother, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And Graydon Creed, and then adopted mother of Rogue.
Yeah. Yep. She raised Rogue. Yeah, it's kind of
Wasn't there a thing in the comics where she was actually like the father of Nightcrawler or something like that?
Nightcrawler's dad is a demon. What is his name?
I can't remember.
He's red.
The X-Men animated series had a episode with the three of them. Graydon Creed had lured them to kill them, so they. Mystique, Nightcrawler, Rogue, and then Graydon Creed. They're all together.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good episode.
So X-Men Blue Origins. X-Men Blue Origins. After decades of speculation, Marvel has canonically confirmed that X-Men hero Nightcrawler is the biological son of Mystique and her wife Destiny.
Oh, so you're right.
How did that happen?
Mystique turned into a man.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just didn't know that, because Azazel is his genetic father. That's where he gets his demonic appearance and stuff from. So I wonder.
Maybe Mystique turned into Azazel.
Maybe. Just hold on a second. Let me look something.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought I
so
heard that
on
somewhere. There's a little bit of a hubbub about it.
yeah on the in the Marvel database, it says Azazel's his genetic father.
Okay.
It doesn't specify. I don't know why they specify that with that. So I wonder. So there was a romance between the two.
Yeah.
Uh,
I do wonder if Destiny gave birth to Nightcrawler, but none of the comics really showed that. They always showed Mystique running with a blue baby and
Yeah. Well,
dumping him in a river.
I think it was one of those kind of retcon situations at Marvel too. Like they do that sometimes. So
They do.
yep.
yeah.
And who knows with the multiverse, which world,
True.
which universe did that happen in?
True.
Right. Yeah, because Nightcrawler. I mean, I don't even know if they brought the original Kurt back with the Krakoa stuff because Kurt died, and they brought in another Nightcrawler from a different universe. But I don't know if they reanimated him with the Krakoa stuff or not. The original Kurt. I'm not sure of that. I'm really gonna have to look into that because.
Well, I do have to say, John, going back to Castlevania,
Yeah.
I very, very knowledgeable. It answered a lot of questions. Like I said, I binge watched that series and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
You know, I played the video games, but this is years ago.
Yeah. No, it's
It's always interesting, like all the different characters and all the different villains. It was a blast to talk about, learn about.
Yeah, and it was great talking about a franchise that I love with some of the some awesome people. You know, man, I'll tell you what, Dracula is a fun character. You know, very tragic. You know, the humans killed his wife, and you know he's out for blood because of it. And you know, a recurring trend with Castlevania is always like this kind of love has the ability to overcome evil, and that's kind of like whenever they do have like lore stuff within the games, you know, in the later games that got past the Nintendos, like in Symphony of the Night, they're always referencing love kind of as like, hey, this is almost a superpower that, you know, the heroes have, is their ability to love is really what gets them to rally their strength. And that's the key component that Dracula's missing, is his ability to love, and what died with Lisa when she died. So
Or Lisa.
poor Lisa.
And that's something, you know, at the end of season 4, all of a sudden Dracula and Lisa wake up in a field.
Yep.
How did that happen?
Yep. Must have been Saint Germain. Must have been Saint Germain. But
I like Saint Germain. I like that guy.
yeah, fair enough.
I like that guy.
Fair enough.
I'm Team Hector and Team Saint Germain.
You're gonna have to play you're gonna have to play the PlayStation 2 game, Wayne.
Is that where Hector is?
Yep, that's where Hector is.
Okay.
Yep, and
All
Saint
right,
Germain.
PlayStation 2.
Yep. I think I have it around here somewhere. But yeah, no, it's a good one.
Team Hector.
I love the scene when they had Dracula used his Hellfire, which is that big magma ball that he shoots that floats. That's called his Hellfire attack, which he does in the games pretty consistently. But it was cool watching Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor all like use their individual things to help that. Sypha's kind of like repelling it with her ice powers, and then Trevor's, you know, he can't do any magic, but he can certainly root her and try and like push her back and be a, you know, support for her, brace for her and whatnot.
Yeah, didn't he put his back up against her?
Yep.
Hold her there.
Yep. And then Alucard comes in with a sword and drives it right in the back at Dracula. Man, I wish you could do that in the games.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, where's some other good points? Oh, when the siege on the castle, when the castle teleports, Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor are in the castle, and Carmela's vampires are there, and they're like, okay. They start playing Bloody Tears, which a big thing Castlevania is the music too. Bloody Tears has been a music track in almost every Castlevania game, I think, starting with the second one. But but they start playing that music. I got hairs standing up on my arms. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fucking epic. And they're like, Trevor's like, Maria, you support. I'll do this. Alucard, you go over the top. And Alucard goes over the top, turns into a wolf, throws his sword around. He's killing these vampires. They did so good with that, sieging the castle.
Yeah, it was really good.
I love the bewilderment of Carmella when the castle is just teleporting around them, destroying all of her unit, all of her soldiers. It's like, what the hell just happened? I think she's like, what the fuck was that? And Hector's like, I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, what a good anime. But yeah, we'll once you guys get around to watching Nocturne, we'll have to touch back on that in a future episode.
Definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
I'll get caught up, I promise.
Yeah,
I want
no
to play some video games.
Yeah, play some video games, get into it a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, guys. Well, hey, this has been an awesome episode. Great talking about Exceptional.
Yeah.
Oh man, reading the Exceptional comics, I felt really bad for that character, but it was also
a tragedy.
It was definitely a tragedy of a story. But
worst X-Men ever.
Worst, but he went out with a bang.
Sure did.
He sure did.
Took out riches.
Yep.
All
right, nerds. Well, that's Seraph, Moribane,
guys.
and Wayne signing off.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
See ya.